Hello and welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the news from Saba Satellite Channel from Marib. Here are tonight's top stories.
PLC member Al-Khambashi meets U.S. ambassador in Hadramaut security.
Prime Minister reviews government priorities with World Bank Regional Director.
UN Security Council ends the mandate of the UN mission to support the Hudaybiyah Agreement.
Welcome back into the details. In diplomatic and security developments, discussions are continuing to support stability in Yemen's eastern governorates. Presidential Leadership Council member and Hadramaut Governor Salim Al-Khambashi met today with the United States Ambassador to Yemen, Stephen Fagan, to review the overall situation in Hadramaut. The meeting focused on recent security and military developments, including efforts to secure the coastline, strengthen the role of the Coast Guard, and counter smuggling and terrorist activities to protect the governorate and vital maritime routes. The two sides also discussed Hadramaut's security, service, and development needs, and the importance of international support to enhance stability and improve public services. Al-Khambashi reaffirmed the local authorities' commitment to cooperation with international partners to combat terrorism and smuggling and to build the capacity of security and military institutions. Ambassador Fagan was briefed on the outcomes of steps taken to reorganize military camps under state institutions, and he congratulated Al-Khambashi on his appointment, praising progress made in strengthening security and stability. He also reiterated continued U.S. support for government and local authority efforts in Hadramaut.
In diplomatic developments, a member of the Presidential Leadership Council has discussed the political and security situation with the French ambassador. PLC member Abdullah Al-Alimi met today with France's ambassador to Yemen, Catherine Kamoun, to review the latest developments in Yemen and prospects for strengthened bilateral cooperation. The meeting covered political, security, and economic developments, as well as efforts to stabilize conditions in the liberated governorates, enhance security, and improve basic services to ease citizens' hardships. Al-Alimi stressed that restoring the effectiveness of state institutions, combating terrorism, and forming a competent government remain national priorities, alongside unifying military and security efforts to restore state authority. He also highlighted the importance of the Southern Dialogue Conference, sponsored by Saudi Arabia, as an inclusive framework for addressing Southern issues within the comprehensive political process. For her part, Ambassador Kamoun reaffirmed France's support for the Presidential Leadership Council and the government, and its commitment to Yemen's unity, sovereignty, and stability.
An international cooperation member of the Presidential Leadership Council, Mahmoud Al-Subaihi, held separate meetings today with French Ambassador to Yemen, Catherine Kamoun, and the German Ambassador Thomas Schneider to review bilateral relations and recent developments. In talks with the French Ambassador, Al-Subaihi expressed appreciation for France's continued support for Yemen and its leadership, as well as international efforts to normalize conditions and advance recovery in liberated governorates. The meeting also addressed preparations for the upcoming Southern Dialogue Conference to be hosted by Saudi Arabia. Al-Subaihi highlighted Saudi support, including salary payments and development projects, as a key pillar of institutional stability. In a separate meeting with the German ambassador, discussions focused on German and European support for strengthening state institutions, economic recovery, and sustained basic services. Al-Subaihi praised Germany's supportive stance and reaffirmed the importance of Saudi sponsorship of dialogue efforts aimed at reaching a fair solution to the southern issue within the framework of the state.
In economic and development news, the Prime Minister has held talks with the World Bank on reform priorities and ongoing cooperation. Prime Minister Shaya Zindani met today with the World Bank's Regional Director for Egypt, Yemen, and Djibouti, Stefan Gumbert, to review the government's priorities for the current phase. Discussions focused on economic and financial reforms, institutional capacity building, and ways to ensure the continuity and development of cooperation with the World Bank in support of economic stability and recovery efforts. The meeting also reviewed existing and planned World Bank projects and programs in Yemen, and their role in supporting key reform areas. Prime Minister Zindani stressed the government's commitment to strengthen its partnership with the World Bank, describing it as one of the leading international financial institutions supporting Yemen. For his part, Stefan Gumbert congratulated the Prime Minister on assuming office and expressed his readiness to continue working closely with the government in the coming period.
In international cooperation, where Yemen's health sector was the focus of talks in Amman today. The Minister of Public Health met in the Jordan capital Amman with the Netherlands ambassador to Yemen to discuss ways to strengthen support for the health sector and expand joint cooperation. The minister outlined key challenges facing the health system, including funding shortages, the spread of epidemics, weak infrastructure, limited qualified staff, and the migration of health workers, all of which continue to affect service delivery. He reviewed efforts made by the ministry to address these challenges through closer coordination with health partners and donors, and by focusing on agreed sector priorities and sustainable interventions. The minister also praised Dutch support, particularly in reproductive health and maternal and child care, stressing the government's aim to move from emergency responses to sustainable health services. For her part, the Dutch ambassador reaffirmed her country's commitment to continue support for Yemen's health sector and to strengthen cooperation with the Ministry of Health and international partners.
Information Minister Muammar al-Iryani says recent footage released by the Houthi group confirms that the threat to maritime security remains unchanged. In a statement, al-Iryani referred to images published by the Houthis showing the January 27, 2024 attack on the commercial vessel Merlin Luanda, which was hit by an Iranian-made ballistic missile and caught fire, endangering its multinational crew. He said the footage demonstrates that the Red Sea, Bab al-Mandab and the Gulf of Aden continue to face cross-border threats targeting civilian shipping in violation of international maritime law and freedom of navigation. Al-Iryani added that the timing of releasing the footage reflects attempts to send political and security messages, stressing that the Houthis act as a military arm advancing Iranian interests. The minister called for sustained international pressure, tighter controls on arms smuggling, and support for government efforts to restore state authority as the only way to safeguard maritime routes.
The Minister of State and Governor of Aden met with the head of the International Committee of the Red Cross Mission in Aden to discuss ways to enhance joint cooperation and coordinate humanitarian efforts in the city. The meeting reviewed Red Cross interventions across several key sectors, including health, water, and sanitation support for the most vulnerable groups, as well as protection-related programs and humanitarian response activities. The Aden governor reaffirmed the local authorities' commitment to strengthening partnership with international humanitarian organizations, stressing the importance of continuous coordination to ensure effective needs-based interventions that help ease citizens' suffering and improve basic services. For his part, the head of the Red Cross mission praised the level of cooperation with local authorities, confirming the organization's continued implementation of humanitarian programs in coordination with relevant institutions.
The Deputy Minister of Education said Yemen is facing one of the most serious learning loss crises in its modern history, as a result of the ongoing war waged by the Iran-backed Houthi terrorist militias and the devastating consequences it has had on the education sector. In remarks to the Yemeni news agency, Ali Al-Abbab said an entire generation that began basic education at the start of the conflict has now reached the end of secondary school with significant gaps in knowledge and skills. He explained that ministry estimates prepared with international partners show more than 6 million children have been directly or indirectly affected by disruptions to education. More than 2 million children are currently out of school, while around 3.7 million others are at risk of dropping out. Al-Abbab warned that learning loss goes beyond missed school years, pointing to sharp declines in reading, writing, numeracy, and analytical skills, which threaten future access to higher education and the labor market. He stressed that rescuing education remains possible through sustained support, prioritizing teachers' salaries, school rehabilitation, and programs to address learning gaps.
At the United Nations, the Security Council has decided to end one of its missions in Yemen. The UN Security Council has voted to terminate the mandate of the United Nations mission to support the Hudaydah Agreement, known as UNMHA, by the end of March. The decision was adopted with 13 votes in favor, while Russia and China abstained. The resolution drafted by the United Kingdom extends the mission's mandate for 2 additional months until March 31st to allow for an orderly wind down of its operations and the transfer of any remaining tasks to the Office of the UN Special Envoy for Yemen. Addressing the Council, the United States said continued Houthi obstructions has rendered the mission ineffective, making its continuation no longer viable. Under the resolution, UNMHA will begin full liquidation of its activities from April 1st. The Council also requested the UN Secretary General to consult with Yemeni parties and submit a clear plan for the transfer of responsibilities and the completion of the mission's closure.
For continuous updates, stay with Saba Satellite Channel. Thank you for watching and have a good time.
Have a good time.